I've been getting messages over the last few months about matte boxes, and specifically which matte box or matte boxes I use, because I've shared pictures using two different kinds of matte boxes when I've been on shoots on Instagram. These two matte boxes are the Freewell Eiger and the Bright Tangerine Misfit Atom. Full disclosure, about a year ago I did contact Bright Tangerine because I was really interested in the Misfit Atom, and they were kind enough to give it to me on long-term loan, and I'm still using it and I love it to this day. Freewell, with their Eiger, they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to test their matte box. I've used them both on professional shoots, and as we'll look at in this video, I think both have strengths and weaknesses that mean that they're taken out on different kinds of shoots. Matte boxes are a bit of kit which serve a few functions really, the main one being that they allow you to flag off your lens to prevent stray or errant light from flaring or ghosting your lens, and they also generally allow you to stack filters like ND and diffusion. As you can see in this example here, we have a light source just above the frame and sort of beaming down at an odd angle into the lens. It has this effect of ghosting a lens where it loses contrast, but as soon as I bring my hand in the way, you can see that that contrast returns. And in the same way, a matte box fixed onto the front of the lens with a top flag will serve the same function. Both the matte boxes I use work well to control light spill. I love the Bright Tangerine Misfit Atom because it comes with this super clever rubber front which adds zero weight to your rig, and it also consists of a very lightweight top flag. One thing to note, because of this rubber front to the matte box, it doesn't offer you the sort of protection that a matte box with a harder casing would. So in this case, the Eiger that I also use has a more solid construction, but because of that, it is a little bit heavier. It takes a bit more room when I'm transporting it. Both of these matte boxes mount to the camera in a slightly different way. Generally, I prefer the Atom's mounting system. It has this large plastic ring that pops on top of your lens, and then the matte box affixes to that ring and you clamp it down and the ring tightens over the lens. Whereas the Eiger uses a screw-on ring system, and then the matte box attaches to that. If you've only got one of those rings, that you have to unscrew that ring every time you change lens and screw it back onto the new lens. There is obviously a way around this. You could just buy multiple rings for multiple lenses, but you know, it's a little bit more faff to fix those all onto your lenses at the beginning of the day. The thing that mainly sets these two matte boxes apart is filters. Both matte boxes offer quite different solutions to accepting filters. The Atom accepts traditional 4x5.65 Panavision filters and 4x4 filters, and these go in naked without requiring a filter tray, whereas the Eiger uses proprietary lightweight magnetic filters, which have the benefit of being very easy to stack and taking up very little room, but sort of a nuisance, it won't accept anything else. So if you do have any larger traditional filters, you won't be able to use them in this matte box. And likewise, if you are on a job that requires specialist filters or specific kinds of filters that Freewell don't make, you won't be able to use this matte box. The Misfit Atom doesn't lock you into using any specific brand of filters, meaning it's obviously much easier to rent or borrow industry standard filters made by, you know, a range of different brands. However, they do tend to be a bit more expensive if you are looking to own them. They are a bit heavier, and they obviously occupy a larger footprint when you're packing them down and traveling. The Misfit Atom is also only limited to take 2 traditional thickness filters, and they can be a little bit awkward to mount and stack and quickly swap in and out when you're in a rush. However, some manufacturers do make ultra thin filters, one of them being Formatt Hitech, and they're basically half the size of standard size filters. You can stack up to 4. And I think that's probably more than enough for most use cases. It certainly is for mine. At most, I'm stacking 2 layers of ND and then probably 1 of diffusion. With the Freewell, obviously you are locked into using their filters with the Eiger. If you do upgrade the matte box or it breaks, you obviously can't use these filters on a different matte box. If Freewell don't make the specific filter you need, or they discontinue the line or go out of business, then, you know, you're sort of in trouble there. And for me, I'm not a fan of being locked into sort of proprietary systems. But the Eiger definitely has the edge, I think, when it comes to swapping filters in and out, because the Atom, at times when you're in a bit of a stress and a bit busy, can be a bit fiddly. For me, the biggest benefit of the Freewell Eiger, and often the reason why I choose this over the Atom, is that it can take a variable ND filter, which offers just like a ton of convenience when you need to make very quick ND adjustments on the fly. I prefer to use the bright Tangerine matte box on larger jobs where we have time to build out a camera and to light the scene properly. I think the filters that I can use in the bright Tangerine Misfit Atom generally are just of a higher quality and they're more industry standard, and it just has a slightly smaller footprint than the Eiger 2, and you can take it to pieces very easily, and it just doesn't take up any room in my peli case, whereas the Eiger takes up a lot more room and needs its own dedicated slot in my peli case. So I used the Atom when we shot a recent music video in a studio because we had more control over lighting, and therefore it made sense just to have a selection of high quality drop-in filters and diffusion that we used across the day. I also tend to use this in sort of corporate jobs, commercial jobs, fixed interview situations. Again, we've got time to set up and light a scene. For the more run and gun jobs, minimal crew, or I'm on my own, then I tend to rely on the Eiger. I've increasingly found that I've relied on the Eiger, mainly for its variable ND, which is super convenient when shooting under changing lighting conditions. There is a bit of color cast at the extreme of it, but it is, pretty comparable to the competition and fixable in post. The great thing about the Eiger is, you can combine all the filters pretty seamlessly. Freewell do make a pretty good range of filters. They're pretty established as a filter brand, black Promus type things, and they do it in multiple strengths, and it all fits this Eiger magnetic system. The other thing that I've never really seen before, is quite novel with this filter box system, is that it has a gradient filter. These are things that I've only really seen being used for photography, but I was surprised how much I did enjoy using it for video work as well, especially when I was outside. Across the board, the filters are also pretty reasonably priced as well. They're much cheaper than buying sort of Panavision style filters, which can cost you up to a couple of £100 per filter. My only concern about the Eiger filters is that they are incredibly thin and delicate. One of the filters did shatter whilst in transit inside my peli case. Completely my fault. It was packed in very tight with other gear sort of butting up against it. But it is one downside to these being so thin and lightweight and delicate. So again, something to bear in mind. Both of these matte boxes are excellent value. However, you probably will end up spending more with the Misfit Atom. It's definitely a more premium, production-ready product, but in my opinion, it's definitely worth it. So it is more expensive, and you will also need to factor in the cost of filters too, which make it, much more expensive to run than the Freewell Eiger. But these are obviously an investment which, like lenses, will be usable across multiple matte box systems and across multiple jobs, and you can rent them out or you can rent them in yourselves. However, if you do want a much more streamlined and affordable solution that provides a ton of flexibility and convenience, then I think the Eiger is also a terrific matte box system as well, especially as you can pick up the variable ND kit for less than the price of the Misfit Atom alone, which is incredible. Finally, and most importantly, using either of these matte boxes on the front of your camera will definitely make you look like an experienced professional filmmaker. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right?